Hello, I was going to go to bed earlier and then I got to worrying about earthquakes and Trump and J.D. Vance. And I was thinking about this Ordo Amoris dispute between Vance and Rory Stewart. And I think both of them are slightly askew. Rarely does theology set Twitter alight, but J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States and this self styled Thomist patriot, invoked the principle of Ordo Amoris to defend harsher immigration policies, and it sparked a modern scholastic brawl. And his sparring partner was Rory Stewart, the ex-MP, the adventurer, the amateur theologian. And the debate wasn't just entertaining, it revealed the perils of weaponizing theology in the service of nationalism. Vance is wrong, not only politically but theologically. And let's begin with the definitions. Ordo Amoris is coined by Augustine and echoed by Aquinas, and it refers to the right ordering of our loves. And it's not a geography lesson in who comes first, family, then neighbour, then nation. Rather, it's about loving rightly, loving what is most lovable as it deserves to be loved. And first in that order is not kin, but God. As Augustine puts it, virtue is the order of love. This doesn't mean drawing circles around yourself like a pebble in a pond. It means aligning your desires with eternal truth. Love is not a finite cake to be sliced. It's fire, spreading without loss, illuminating everything that it touches. And Vance argued on Fox News and later doubled down online that love should begin with family, then community, then citizens, and only after that the rest of the world. This, he insists, is Christian common sense. It isn't. It's pagan tribalism dressed up in Christian robes. Jesus explicitly unravels this kind of hierarchy in Luke 10 when he says, when he's asked, "Who is my neighbour?" And he tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, a stranger from a despised ethnicity who acts with greater moral clarity than any priest or Levite. Neighbour is not a matter of proximity or national identity. Neighbour is whoever needs mercy. And Christ goes further. Who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Those who do the will of God. In other words, kinship is redefined not by blood, but by compassion and by covenant. And Vance reverses this. He reasserts boundaries that Jesus came to break. Indeed, Jesus is simply building on the principle of chesed. That's the principle that makes Abraham drop everything, kill the fatted calf, and feed the three strangers. Rory Stewart called Vance's version of Ordo Amoris pagan tribal, and he's absolutely right. Vance took a profound theological insight and shrank it into a zip code. And the hierarchy that Vance describes belongs not to Augustine but to Bismarck and to Kulturkampf, the notion that Catholics are suspect because they love Rome more than the Reich. But Christianity doesn't teach nationalism before neighbourliness. It demands love for the enemy, the refugee, the stranger. The Christian call is radically uncomfortable, and that's why Pope Francis, in his letter to US bishops, rebuked the Vance-Trump vision by name-checking the Good Samaritan and reminding us that Christian love is not concentric expansion of interests. Vance's fallback is common sense, of course. I love my children more than strangers, and this is true at the natural level, but Christianity transcends nature. It teaches us to love not merely because of shared blood, but because of shared being, made in the image of God. If love stays confined to those like us, it curdles into sentimentality or nationalism, and nationalism, remember, is also condemned as a heresy in orthodoxy. Worse still, and that must come as a shock to someone like Putin. Worse still, it grants theological license to policies that exclude, detain, or deport in the name of love. The hierarchy of obligations that Vance proposes is not theological order, it's ethical abdication dressed as piety. And Pope Francis, in his final public rebuke of American Catholic politics, makes it unambiguous. The true Ordo Amoris, he writes, is that which we discover by meditating on the Good Samaritan, a fraternity open to all without exception. Not family first, not nation first, humanity first, through the prism of divine love. And our measurement, the measurement of our relationship with God, is seen through our relationship with humanity. Christian love flows not from concentric circles, but from the cruciform shape of the cross, reaching outward and upward, not inward. J.D. Vance wants to baptize nationalism with a bit of Augustine, but Augustine wouldn't have it. He reminds us, love and do what you will. But that love must be rightly ordered, not to the flag, but to the cross. And that means challenging unjust laws, welcoming the stranger, welcoming the person in prison, the prisoner, and resisting the temptation to confuse sentiment with sanctity. Rory Stewart may not be a theologian by profession, but in this exchange he stood on firmer gospel ground than the Vice President. Vance invoked theology, Stewart invoked Christ. And in the end, it's not who we love first, but that matters most. It's whether, like Christ, we love without counting the cost. And that's the issue. And I'm rather pleased I stayed up a little later to think about this, because it's an important issue and one which I think could easily get sidelined in the tangle of the coming papal conclave and the funeral. And I think this is an issue that lies at the heart of Pope Francis's ministry, and I think it's one that is well worth recalling.